Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Piofiore 1926, continuing Dante's route. My bird is with me this time, so he doesn't shriek like an asshole, but now he is talking to the birds that he can hear chirping. So, anyway, we just had a fight with Dante, so that's fun. Anyway, after a night of tossing and turning, morning finally arrived. Leo came to my room last night to let me know it was time for dinner, but I slowly brought a piece of sautéed flatfish to my mouth as I peeked over at Dante. He looked uneasy over the course of the dinner. Any spare moments he wasn't eating, he was either drinking wine or refilling his glass. He's getting drunk. Say, Dante, don't you think you've had too much wine tonight? Well, hey, not my headset, bird. Have I? Yes? Dante looked down a bit like a scolded child, then placed his glass back onto the table. I breathed a small sigh of relief. By the way, do you know what dolce we'll be having today? Torta margarita. I baked it myself. And now there's okay, here we go. A simple light sponge cake made with flour, butter, potato starch, eggs, and sugar. I see. I'm looking forward to it. Like, he's trying so hard, and he's like, I know I'm stupid, but he doesn't know how to apologize. It's cute. I could tell Dante was doing his best to speak to me as he normally did. But before long, our dinner ended with a lingering awkwardness between us. As regretful as I wasn't able to apologize to Dante. After a fitful night of sleep, I knew just how much it affected me that I hadn't. I know that Dante is just worried about me, and of course I'm happy that he cares. I should have told him about Teo sooner. That being said, I still couldn't sense Teo having an ulterior motive. I mean, girl, maybe not in this route, but he has in every other one, I'm just saying. If anything, that young lady was far more direct. I mean, okay. Teo might have an ulterior motive, but he's not trying to get up your dress, because he's your brother. Okay? Teo is just like, suspicious, but yes, this girl is trying to get in Dante's fucking pants. So different, but oh my, it's like a dream having you hold me like this. The fact that Dante's clueless is kind of adorable. Still, I shouldn't have stormed out of his office like that. Mute. Dante over here being like, I can't to her. Standing outside my door, unable to knock or say anything. I stood in front of the mirror and put on my coat and hat before leaving the room. On my way to the entrance, I ran into Julia heading toward the salon. All of a sudden, the music sounds like it got really loud. But it didn't. Bizarre.
My young Dante, heading out already. What about breakfast?
I'll pick up something. I should be finished with work early and back by this afternoon.
I see. Very well. If you don't mind. And during dinner yesterday, the two of you weren't talking as much as usual.
It was painfully obvious, so there was no use in trying to brush it off.
Did you two have an argument? If so, please do resolve your differences as soon as possible.
That's Julia's way of smacking him and being like, fucking apologize, you ass! And it's like, it's not really... I mean, it's not entirely his fault. We did get a little heated, but, like, at the same time, it's like, him being like, he started it. Him being like, you're just too naive, and we're like, are you fucking kidding me? What about that bitch? And it's like, I mean, and we were like, yeah, I mean, okay, you're right. I should have told you about Teo. I didn't have my guard up at all. I'm very trusting and innocent. We are. But I didn't realize the extent of the trouble and that you were having someone watching me. If I knew that there was someone always going to be secretly watching me, then I would know that, hey, I need to keep my guard up, and I would tell you more about Teo and other things that are happening. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not telling me shit is dire, watch your ass, bitch. I'm not gonna fucking watch, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna go about my normal business. And I understand you don't want to worry me, but, like, I need to know. you might need to be worried. Or, hey, tell us everything because things are a little weird. I don't want you to worry about it, but, you know, because I don't think Teo's threatening, but, you know, who knows? I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think it's just a lovely day in the fucking neighborhood. And, you know, it's meanwhile the zombie apocalypse is raging outside. Like, I'm not expecting that shit. Come on, you gotta warn me a little, you know? Anyway. Dante has a lot on his plate as it is. I got out of bed, determined to catch him at breakfast and apologize properly. Oh, but he gone. It's gonna be a while before we see him. I arrived at the salon fully dressed to find Julia and a number of others already there.
Good morning, Space.
Good morning, Julia. I glanced around at the many faces in the salon, but the person I was looking for was nowhere to be found. Is Dante...
If you're looking for young Dante, he's already gone out for the day.
God, there's side stories all fucking over this motherfucker. There's so much shit happening here. Are we... Henry? Because it's others. You would think if it was Teo, it would say Teo. I don't know. We'll just assume it's Henry until we find out it's somebody else entirely, because whatever voice I give this character, it's always the wrong person. So anyway.
I knew that Falzone was going to work a deal at the casino today.
I mean, it's question marks, so.
I watched the entrance of the casino from a nearby alley. The person I was expecting finally arrived. He came down from the car and gave a heavy sigh. Even from a distance, I could tell he was in a downcast mood. I looked down toward the voice and saw a young child looking up at me.
Can I have some money, please?
The child was dressed in rags. He must have come from Strano to beg for scraps from the wealthy patrons of the casino. I didn't want to cause a commotion now. I decided to silently hand him some change.
Wow, grazie, signor!
His thanks rang through the air much more loudly than I had expected. I instinctively looked up toward the entrance to the casino.
It's with Dante.
My eyes met his and a look of surprise came across his face. As the child pocketed the change I gave him, he hurried toward the new arrival.
Can I have some money, please?
Yeah, that's the guy that you should have begged for money because that motherfucker's rich.
The pious Falzone boss gave him money without a second thought, and the child thanked him in his maddeningly loud way. With that, Falzone came down to the alley to see me.
This is where you disappear. Yeah, okay, we're definitely Henry. I mean, assuming that, yeah, Henry was the one that got his ass kicked in the alley, which makes sense, so. How are your injuries? I hope they haven't gotten worse.
It was astounding that he would recognize an ordinary townsperson on sight alone, but more so that he would converse with one.
It's the thing is you're holding him to the standard of what his father was like and not as himself, you know?
Forgive me for causing such an inconvenience, and they don't hurt anymore. I'm quite alright.
I see. And that's good to hear. It's like, oddly, you sound like the old direttore of the casino.
That's silly.
I feel like direttore and Henry should have a different voice, but like, I don't have enough voices to like, you know what I mean? Where like, oh, I'm being Henry, and then my normal voice is like that. You know what I mean? Where like, if you were like actually voicing a character, you could do it, but since I'm voicing all the fucking characters, I have a limited repertoire going on here, okay? You know? But like, could you imagine Dante's talking to him like, you sound exactly like it's... Raoul also similar, but not as high-pitched, but whatever, you know, anyway. I see, and that's good to hear.
I noticed, and that you seemed rather troubled. If I may, is something the matter?
You noticed?
A lover's troubles, perhaps.
Dante's like, God damn, why does everybody read me like a fucking book? Is it because he was crying? Am I that obvious?
No, nothing of the sort. But when it comes to the problems of men in this country, it seems women are often involved. Pardon me. I did not mean to disparage the people of this country.
You're not from here? And then where?
From France. He gave a slight chuckle at my reply.
Then we're definitely Henry, because Henry was from France. Didn't we move to France with him in his route? I see. Unfortunately, I cannot deny the truth at present. The impression you have of us may be accurate in some way.
The smile on his face faded somewhat as he spoke to me with unexpected candor.
To be honest, I did upset a woman I care about. I was only doing what I thought was best for her sake. Apparently, it's backfired.
Was he so honest because I was a stranger, or because it was weighing so heavily on his mind? Seeing him sigh again with a troubled look separated him even further from Silvio.
I feel like, and then it's like, but it's like, again, you're holding him, you're like, your dad sucks, he murdered my sister, and I'm gonna, you're actually not too bad, okay, I got over it. You know what I mean? Like,
if we believe we have taken a misstep somewhere, then the only way back is through accepting that we've erred. In the case of those important to us, we must express our feelings before it's too late.
Do you believe that anything can be forgiven?
Who knows? As I do not know your quarrel with her, I cannot make any guarantees.
It's an interesting question to broach to Henry. Do you believe that anything can be forgiven? And Henry's like, fuck no, your dad killed my sister and I won't forgive you for that. So, like, Henry's actual legit answer is no. And he's just like, I'm not going to say no. Even though that's the truth in his heart, you know?
I couldn't help but chuckle. It's all up to you in the end.
Quite literally.
If you've been treating her with care until now, she will understand. Surely.
You're right. I appreciate your advice. Thank you. There aren't many people I can speak to about this. No, I suppose there is someone if I don't mind being ridiculed.
Might I ask for your name? He hesitated for a moment, but as expected, he answered my request with sincerity.
I think it's so funny, like,
might I know your name, sir?
I already fucking know who you are, you know? My name is Dante. And yours?
Henry.
Now we know it's Henry! I mean, we already fucking knew, but, like, at least we finally, like, know for a fact. And now, it won't just be question marks when he shows up, it'll say Henry, so. Because he never told us when he was talking to us, so.
It was true that I had nothing to hide, but the reason I gave him my real name was unknown to me.
It's so funny, he's like, well, I mean, what were we gonna do? I mean, you could have told him Tom or something, but I'm like, you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm the direttore of the casino. I mean, never mind. Because it's not like anybody ever knew. Nobody knew him as Henry when he worked there, you know what I mean? He was just direttore.
If you're looking for young Dante, he's already gone out for the day.
I see. I took a seat for breakfast, feeling sorry that I missed my opportunity. And he could die. You might never have the opportunity again. Not gonna die in the good ending. I returned to my room after breakfast and found myself doing nothing but staring off in a daze. And since we're using a guide, we're gonna get the good ending unless I'm stupid, like in other games, where I read the thing wrong and then I can't spell. And then we choose the wrong thing. Still got the right ending, but we totally missed a scene because I can't read. These ones are usually like, talk about that damn bitch and talk about the cat. So, I mean, that's generally easy enough. Like, it's not cat or cot, you know, or cut, where you're like, it was just, those would be different. But you know what I mean? Like, just a random letter. I don't, look. It just happened, man. It still haunts me. It was only like a month ago. But it haunts me. I returned to my room after breakfast and found myself doing nothing but staring off in a daze. I lay down in bed with the hope of regaining lost sleep, but all that came to mind was him. Along with the memories of my earliest days here. I wasn't permitted to leave the manor. Dante and I clashed back then for different reasons. When she said earlier days, I'm like, are we getting one of these arias? Like, yes, we are. Collision. Dante leaves the heroine behind at the Falzone Manor. Sensing something bad is about to happen, he heads back to discover the heroine attempting to escape from the balcony. Oh, God. Wait, didn't we, like, fall into his arms or some shit? A chill ran down my spine. I feel something bad is about to happen. And just before I left, I remembered what she said. May I accompany you? I don't need to step outside. I can stay in the car. It was in consideration for her safety that I needed to refuse her desperate plea. No, it can't be. It can't possibly. A childhood memory flickered through my mind. The image of her at the church, her golden hair flowing in the wind as she ran through the garden, gracefully climbing a tree. No. She may have been feisty as a child, but she's a grown adult now, a fine young lady. Surely she has much more sense. I still couldn't quiet this ominous feeling. I wasn't far from the manor when I decided to head back. It was then that I saw her. I knew my fears were justified, but watching it unfold before my eyes was another thing. Yep. What in the world are you doing? I was able to sprint forward and catch her in my arms before it was too late. Like, how romantic is this? The man caught me as I fell off a balcony! This is romantic as shit! A wave of relief coursed through my body. And like our outfit was cute as shit. I had taken her under my custody for her sake. Even if I couldn't explain my every intention, it wasn't because I wanted to harm her. However, we were the Mafia, and the fact of the matter was that we were detaining her against her will. Perhaps I had not fully understood what it meant to be placed in such a situation. While I considered myself a man of honor, to an outsider I was nothing more than a criminal. I had grown up seeing violence, smuggling, torture, and even murder as normal. It's so funny because, like, you think of Dante as, like, such a little marshmallow, and then every once in a while, that frickin' Orlok bad ending comes to mind where he tortured Orlok and basically just did whatever the fuck he wanted to us, and you were like, you know... And I think that's why that ending was so fucking devastating, because you were like, I mean, it's Orlok's bad ending, but you're like, Dante, I expected so much better of you. What is happening? What had happened to you? You know what I mean? It hurt you more for Dante's sake. But it's that one. There's sometimes there's endings that you remember, and that one's one of them. The Nicola bad ending is one of them too, but that one because you're like, this is kind of hot though, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like the Shiraishi bad ending in Color X Malice where you're like, this is bad, but I also like it? You know, sometimes there's bad endings that are like, this is so bad, it's good though. Therefore, you know. That Orlok one though, no, you were like, oh, Dante, why? He's my little cinnamon bun, and look what you did to him. You know what I mean? Because it's just, I think that's why it's devastating. You know, because, like, Nicola doing stuff like that, you're like, yeah, no, I expect that. Yang doing stuff, yeah, okay. Like, Dante? It would only be more offensive if it was Orlok doing that, but that would just be like, well, that's never gonna happen. That would be so far-fetched, you know what I mean? They were like, okay, the next best thing would be Dante doing that because it would be so unexpected and it would really stab people in the chest. You're like, I can't breathe, you know? Anyway, that was just popping in my head here, floating in the back of my mind as I'm reading this. Like, he's such a little sweetheart. Oh, except for that one time. The Mafia took her into custody and ordered her house arrest without any explanation. It was only natural she would attempt to escape, fearing that her life was in danger. I regretted how I had dismissed her anxieties and the concerns she voiced to me before. I didn't want to involve her. That feeling hadn't changed. I had to think about what to share with her so that this wouldn't happen again. I wasn't permitted to leave the manor. Dante and I clashed back then for different reasons. My train of thought was quickly interrupted by a knock on the door. It's me. I want to talk. Can you let me in? Dante! I know when I heard the knock, I was like, I know, my heart leapt in my chest, like, is it Dante? It's probably not, and it totally is, though. I quickly jumped off the bed and hurried to the door. Throw myself in his arms. I love you so much, don't ever hurt me again! When I opened it, I saw Dante standing there with a nervous look on his face. I know, it's because he doesn't know how to talk to us. Is it alright if I come in? Yes. I nodded, stepping back a bit to allow him inside. I took a deep breath to steady myself. Dante... Space. Dante looked me straight in the eye as he spoke my name. The sight of him made the words I wanted to say get caught in my throat again. In the silence that followed, Dante gently held out a single red rose. Oh! That's so sweet! Oh! About yesterday. I'm very sorry. I was at a complete loss for words. I can't excuse my actions. It was a small matter, but my jealousy made it into something more. Look at his sad little face. I want to pet his little bit. It's okay, sweetie. I forgive you. I was also a jerk, but I forgive you. When I learned that you were growing closer to a young man named Teo... No, I was in the wrong. I'm so sorry. The sight of his anguish pained me as well. I know, right? It hurts me to make him look so sad. And back at the ristorante, I unknowingly caused you that same unpleasant feeling. Dante looked stricken by guilt and a deep sense of remorse. And the truth is, the thought that I might lose your smile to someone else filled me with worry. No one, except for maybe Oliver. But just on the side. I became so possessive and jealous that there was no room left in my mind to consider your feelings. It's not your fault, Dante. I should have been more forthcoming so that we could talk about it together. Please forgive me. You're not the one at fault. I don't ever want to make you sad again. I want to become the kind of man who can take care of you, and that's why... The uneasy haze that had been clinging to me since that night finally lifted as Dante spoke. It was my turn to relieve him of his distress. I slowly extended my arm toward him. Dante, forgive you. He took the red rose into my hand, and with it the burden that he had been carrying with him. He gave me roses like this before. I learned that flowers can help heal the pain of someone precious to you, and Julia told me so when I was younger. That's so sweet. Hearing that made me curious. Someone precious? When you were younger? Like, when you were younger? I feel like someone precious is like the jealousy thing rearing up again. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it can heal someone precious. And when I was younger, she told me this. But it could have been in a situation like, he was like, where she wasn't telling him you should give that person a flower, but more like, oh, this person gave me a flower or whatever because this is, you know what I mean? Like, maybe, what's his fucking name? What's her husband's name? Anyway, maybe he gave her flowers because, whatever. So, it was just that lesson, not, he was like, I hurt someone's feelings, and she was like, give her a flower. You know what I mean? I feel like saying the someone precious is almost like someone precious. Someone was precious to you before me. And like, listen, the man's already on edge. I feel like the right answer is when you were younger. Woo! I am so good at Dante! Except for that one time. The one time I got it wrong. So, I've been giving roses to girls ever since you were younger. Okay, that's not what I thought it was going to say. I asked him somewhat hesitantly. After a momentary silence, Dante shook his head and spoke. Until very recently, I never made this sort of gesture. But there was a girl I happened to be fond of when I was a child. Although since we never became friends, we never had a reason to exchange apologies. I see. She was only a little girl from ages ago. It was you, idiot. Despite being a fully grown adult, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. Of course, I couldn't admit that to Dante, but maybe learning more about it would help. I'd really like to hear more about your childhood sometime. I suppose. Dante smiled, looking me straight in the eye. And I think it's funny, I'm a twinge of jealousy for this 8-year-old, and it's like, it was when you were kids, and like, it's different. I know it's like the childhood friend. In all technicality, Dante, in a way, is the childhood friend route, because he's known us since we were a child, but we had no clue who we fucking was. Like, oh yeah, I met you that one time, okay, whatever, and he's just been secretly pining in the corner. But they just do it so differently that, like, it doesn't really... It's not like every other childhood friend route where they're pining over you since they were babies. Where you're like, okay, you're just creepy and weird. Dante's just been like... Because he's a shy, awkward weirdo. You know what I mean? In essence. Like, it's different somehow. Still a little weird, though. You're like, you've been spying on us since we were kids. Like, remember that time you climbed that tree? You're like, you were there? He's like, I was hiding in the bush. And you're like, that is slightly odd. But coming from you, endearing. From anyone else, odd. Like, you know. Dante smiled, looking me straight in the eye. But, and trust me when I say that there is no one more precious to me than you. Of course I trusted him. I nodded happily in response. Space. Dante's hand wrapped around mine, holding the rose, and we looked into each other's eyes. Really? Now's the time for a meanwhile story? When I'm having this touching moment, you're gonna interrupt this shit? Of course, whatever. I'm just concerned because this is Nicola, and it's called Secrets. Nicola? Well, because I'm like, Nicola wouldn't betray us, would he? Would he, though? Because now I'm concerned. I invited to the Francesca Manor a number of prominent members of the family whose loyalty had been secured by Raoul one way or another. Yes, I do see what you mean. Dante's no longer fit to lead our family. Absolutely! Your time's finally arrived, Nicola! Perhaps Raoul would take issue with that if he overheard us. Ah, good point! The time's come for both you and Raoul! Then we'll need to lay the proper groundwork. Have you had the chance to spread the word to any others? Well, yeah, of course. How many do we have on our side now? Well, all I can say is things are moving along. Still, the boss seems to be holding on to his stronger allegiances. At this rate, I assume we'll get fewer numbers than what Raoul projected. I see. Let me see if I can help. Who still needs to be persuaded? I feel like, again, this is what I thought originally. Nicola's going to go along with it and be like, who do I need to talk to? Have you talked to Domenico? Oh, he refused. What about this person? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. He's on our side? Cool. All right, God. You know what I mean? Like, these idiots. He's over here taking fucking notes. Anyway. Dante's hand wrapped around mine holding the rose, and we looked into each other's eyes, because I can't imagine Nicola actually betraying us. But, again, if he does, be like, I should have seen it coming. I leaned close against his chest, embraced in the comfort in his warmth, feeling as though I entrusted myself to him completely. So grateful I had another chance to apologize. The overwhelming relief melted away the last remnants of worry from my heart. Dante and I were having an enjoyable chat over dinner as usual. Leo looked on at us with a happy grin on his face. Well then, let me get the dolce ready. Leo stood up to leave the salon, and as he passed me, spoke in a quiet whisper. Yesterday was a bit tough, but looks like everything's better now. I'm glad. Thanks, Leo. I smiled and nodded, and Leo nodded back before disappearing into the kitchen. Perhaps he heard what Leo just said, or maybe he just had an idea of what he whispered. He's like, Leo's not quiet. Dante let out a sigh. Even Julia and Nicola were worried. I only hope none of the men were aware of what happened. He mumbled to himself with a frown when suddenly someone entered the salon. Oh, Sergio was the jackass, right? Sorry to interrupt your meal. Boss, we got a new report on the matter. Understood. Let's speak in my office. Dante stood up at once and left the salon. Before Signor Jeremy followed after Dante, he gave a quiet glance my way. Although no words were exchanged, something in his eyes didn't feel right. Uh-huh. I was studying in my room after dinner when Dante came in to visit. Are you all finished with work today? Yes, I'm finished. I just need to make sure a few things were in order. Just needed to make sure a few things were in order, sorry. The stony look he usually wore while he was on the job began to fade away, and the kindness in his eyes returned. I've had to postpone our studies lately, haven't I? If you have time now, would you like to have another session? Really? That would be wonderful. I smiled happily and headed over to the desk with Dante. As his eyes fell upon the book that lay open, they widened in surprise. That's a difficult one you're reading. Nicola gave it to me. He said he's already finished it, so... Dante? It really is difficult. So maybe I should start with the mechanics behind the stock market. He paused a bit before continuing. One method of raising funds that businesses employ is issuing shares of stock in their company. And buying stocks means investing in the future success of that business. Oh my god. Guys. We're getting schooled. No, game, no, I don't want to get smarter. Stop it. If things go well, the buyer will earn a portion of the company's profits as dividends. So a person can make money from buying stocks from a business they think will be successful? Or in reality, you're going to lose all your fucking money in the stock market because, like, chances are you're not investing in the right thing because you're going to lose. Which would also mean that you'd lose the money if that business went bankrupt, right? Yes, that's correct. And aside from earning dividends, you can also make a profit from buying and selling the shares themselves. Like, fiscally intelligent people can do this shit, but most of us suck at it, and it's not. And there's no guarantee that either method will be profitable. In some cases, you can be left with substantial debt. It sounds difficult. Which is why I don't think you need to push yourself to learn what's in this book. Well, learning something new is always fun, so I'm happy to give it a try. I will learn this, and I will be able to pick out every intelligent and just invest in. It's in the 20s. What do we need to invest in? And what I'm reading is related to what the family's involved in, right? Dante hesitated for a moment before nodding in response. Yes, that's right. It's one of the reasons Nicola is heading to America. He knows English and has extensive knowledge about these matters, so he'll be heading down to Wall Street while he's there. Wall Street, an American district known as one of the top global financial centers of the world. They don't tell us what any of these goddamn Italian words mean, but they tell us Wall Street. We know. That we know! It's just the funniest thing sometimes with the glossary. It'll be like, strawberries. Strawberries are a red fruit. Like, okay. Like, but then you're gonna give me all this Italian shit, and I'm like, I don't know any of this. Like, I get it, like, when it was in Japanese, maybe Wall Street isn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, most people in America know what Wall Street is. Like, it's like knowing what New York City is. You know? Like, you know what I mean? Or, like, there's certain things that you're just like, it's just, you know that. And I don't know outside of the US if you you know what I mean? Like, there's things that I feel like people like in Italy would be like, well, this is common knowledge, and you're like, I don't live in Italy, so no, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, you just know like your local things, and you don't know like outside if it's common knowledge for everything. You know, it's kind of like sometimes you forget, like, wait, you don't have the 4th of July? Oh yeah, no, nobody else has that. You know what I mean? Like, you just forget sometimes. Like, I mean, you know, but like sometimes you're like, oh yeah, right. No, that's only for us. Okay, right. Or like Thanksgiving, you're like, that's only for us. Canadian Thanksgiving is in October, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things because there's other holidays that like are global or, you know, not just specific. So, anyway, as we continued our chat, someone knocked on the door and called out to us inside. It's me, Leo. Is the boss in there? And I just got a call from Nicola. Dante looked sad. Dante sighed and then stood up from the chair. I have to go. I should be back soon, but if it gets late, you can go to bed. Okay, I understand. I like it. If it gets late, you can go to bed. I mean, duh? I get what he's saying, though. He's more like, I'll come back, but, like, don't stay up, which is for me. You know what? Like, if it's too late, go to sleep. You know what I mean? But, like, it just sounds so funny. As the door shut behind Dante and the room fell silent, I turned to face my desk again, probably going to get an after story or side story. Wall Street sucks. Seems quite complex in practice, but the basic principles behind it were easy enough to understand. With that in mind, I focused my attention on the book to resume my studies. I like how this bitch barely knows English, but she's trying to learn the stock market. Like, that's intense. And good for us. I see. I'm amazed you were able to get all that information in a short amount of time. And keep your ear to the ground, but be careful. We'll take action next week as planned. I had no intention of confronting Raoul yet. We have the ability to assemble this cadre of dissidents. Yeah, dissidents. I was saying that right the first time around. To orchestrate my takedown, and likely had connections to the government. I needed more information related to his contacts there. If I could take out those supporting him from underneath, he would lose his footing. And once I managed to cut him off from his connections, the rest would be simple. You could just kill Raoul. And by the way, how will you explain this to her? I won't be letting her know. Well, I can't say I don't understand why. I'd probably keep all this away from her too. But you know you can't hide what's happening forever. But why don't you disclose what you can for now? You two live together after all. I doubt you can keep it secret for long. Also, if someone's coming after you, you should let her know this shit. My opinion hasn't changed. I won't be telling her. And with that, I set the receiver back down in its place. But someone's gonna say something to me, and they're gonna... You know what I mean, though? Like, Dante, you don't think that they're gonna come after me and use me to get to you? And if I know, I would have my guard up and not trust anybody. I'm sorry, I've kept you waiting. You were on the phone for like 10 minutes. Finished already? I was a bit surprised that he was able to wrap up work so quickly. Yes, it wasn't too important. Really? That's a relief. I didn't mean to worry you. I'm sure things will settle down soon. Fire. I smiled and nodded at his reassurance. Dante and I continued our study session for the remainder of the evening. After a few days, Nicola's investigation led us to locating and capturing a person of interest. As we expected, our interrogation revealed that he was connected to Raoul. The details he provided were enough for us to connect the dots and confirm our suspicions. Make sure he doesn't die so easily. I glanced over as I instructed my men to handle the rest, and then walked back upstairs from the underground prison. It's Marco! What do you think? And Roberto! No additional evidence was found at the scene. No signs of a struggle. I don't believe this is where the murder took place. No kidding. Aside from the victim's eyes being gouged out, he didn't sustain additional trauma to the face. The lacerations inflicted on his body were numerous, but too shallow to have been fatal. Cause of death appears to be the gunshot wound to the head, which is evident. The exit wound left significant damage. Lastly, the body was found tied to the boat. I'll bet it was after the fact, with none of the usual signs of drowning. Guess that means torture, followed by being tossed out here from the docks. Meaning it was the work of the Mafia, right? Yeah. But the Falzone and the Visconti have been on good terms lately, which means they might have off one of their own. It isn't rare to have internal disputes. This was a warning by the looks of it. I know Marco's voice is fucking all over the place because I can't remember his voice and I just can't do it. Can't do the gristle old cop! Marco, you deserve better. So I wonder who it was, though. Oh, okay, cool. Now we're alright, cool. This is gonna answer it. I heard that a body was found at the harbor today. Yeah, I heard as well. It seems the body was tied to a boat. I suppose that was one way of making it easier to find. The description of the victim sounded uncannily similar to the person we lost contact with 2 days ago. As his face was left relatively intact, I assume they took great care to help us identify him. He really does take after his father, doesn't he? It was sloppy of him to get caught by the boss. I agree. Losing him won't have too averse of an effect on our plans. After all, this is simply the waving of a war flag, and though it does nothing to help them at this point. A week passed. I spent my days as requested in the quiet safety of the Falzone Manor. Finding myself once again reading in my room, I suddenly heard a knock on the door. I'm coming! Nicola, what brings you here? I wanted to talk to you about something. Do you mind if I come in? Not at all. Please do. It was very unusual for Nicola to pay me a visit, and the fact that Dante's going to come and be like, why the fuck is Nicola in your room? And you're like, listen, bitch, don't get jealous. I stepped aside to let him in, wondering what could have prompted it. Nicola peeked down the corridor behind him before shutting the door. Something he's hiding from the others? Could he be telling me that he didn't want anyone else to hear? It's been a while since I've seen you, Nicola. The entire past week he'd been particularly busy and noticeably absent from the manor. I'm nearly finished with the work I've been doing. I just wanted to let you know firsthand. Me? Nicola looked at me in a concerned way, then spoke quietly. Tomorrow we're gonna clean up the place. And there's been some questionable activity within the family, especially with some of the top brass. And they're not happy with Dante at the helm. Then Raoul Gerlande was planning on betraying the family. He aims to dethrone me as a boss and already has some of our men on his side. Are you referring to Raoul? Nicholas seemed surprised by my response. There was a momentary silence with which he thought to himself before speaking. That's right. Did you hear that from Dante? Yes. I mean, he didn't tell me everything. He didn't tell me everything. I wasn't expecting a confrontation like this to happen. Dante didn't want you involved in the dirty aspects of our business. I understand why you'd want to keep it secret, but I think it's for the best that you know what's going on. That's all I came here for. You're free to let Dante know I told you. No, I won't say anything. Thank you for letting me know, Nicola. Nicola smiled a little. Well, I better get going. As I watched him leave the room, my hand rose to my chest over my anxiously over my anxiously beating heart. Good Lord. A day passed since Nicola's visit to my room. It was already time for dinner. Dante was sitting in his usual seat, but Nicola and Leo were nowhere to be found. He'll better fucking not get hurt. Carlo's favorite place to nap recently has been on top of any books he finds laying open. He's so cute that I can't bring myself to wake him, so I usually just call it a day. As Dante and I conversed over dinner, I recounted to him the events of my day. I tried my best to appear cheerful so that he wouldn't notice how tense I was feeling after yesterday's news. I see. Perhaps Carlo means to rescue you from studying too hard and is leading by example. Which reminds me, I was hoping to help you with your studies again, but since I've been out all week, I haven't been able to attend to the stack of paperwork on my desk. I know I was able to come home early today for dinner, but I may be confined in my office for the rest of the night. Sorry. Don't worry, I understand. Maybe next time when things are less hectic. Yes, another time. The rest of our dinner continued as usual, with neither of us addressing what loomed in our minds. Like people are going to go down guns blazing. Phew. As I closed the door to my room, I let out a sigh of exhaustion. I couldn't seem to take my mind off what Nicholas shared with me yesterday. It took every ounce of effort for me to behave normally during dinner, but I wouldn't be surprised if I still looked somewhat awkward. Dante would normally be able to see through me. But with everything going on, Dante's focus was probably elsewhere. And he had so much work to do tonight as well. As soon as we finished dinner, he wished me a good night and then walked down the corridor alone to his office. Oh, and we're great. Okay, I wasn't finished reading that sentence. I mean, I was, but... Go. Maybe. I gave my order over the phone. A decision that would change the future of the family. Yes, do it. Words that would reap the lives of many. Those loyal to me would obey and get the job done. And the responsibility for those deaths would be my sin to bear as boss of the Falzone. All right, everyone. It's time to take action. Got it, underboss! After watching the men depart on my orders, I stepped into the car. Without a word, the driver set off. I had a room reserved at a hotel in Falce. I'd be using that room as a hub tonight, awaiting the reports to come. There was like a mild moment reading that I'm like, Nicola's getting in the car with Raoul and is going to be like, yeah, it's all done. And then it's like, nobody really did betray us. I swear to God, like, I really 100% don't expect Nicola to betray us. But yet at the same time, I'm like maybe what? I'm sorry, Nicola, I shouldn't doubt you. Because you know what I mean? Again, Nicola and Dante's love for each other just ascends all bounds. But no earthly realm can hold their love for each other. But it's still Nicola would be the one to betray you if it was going to be anybody. So at the same time, would be surprised and also not surprised. Anyway, as soon as we finished dinner, he wished me a good night and then walked down the corridor alone to his office. The wine tonight's exceptional. Cheers to our future. What the? Our men barged in to ambush the traitors. We hit most of them, but a few survived and we're now returning fire from behind cover. Don't let them escape. You guys go on and secure the exit. Hurry! Domenico took to the front to lead the men in our squad. For being such a friendly guy, he sure could get aggressive during a fight. And then again, it wasn't friendliness that made the top guys in the Mafia so powerful. Leo, to your right! I quickly turned to the right and spotted the guy aiming at me. That better have been the guy dying and not Leo. In an instant, I shot him between the eyes. This is just... I know Leo, shoots people and shit, but, every time we have to come and Leo has to kill someone, I'm like, no, but poor Leo. Leo, no, your poor innocent little soul. I got some sweet cannoli waiting for me. Let's wrap up this party. And I breathed a sigh of relief and turned back around when suddenly I noticed a gun pointed at Domenico. Domenico! Leo did not just get shot. But if he got shot protecting Domenico, I hope he survives. I hope they both survive. Leo has a Sprite, Domenico doesn't, but he's nice to us, so... Feeling overwrought, I decided to sleep early to quiet my mind. I turned off the lights and slipped into bed. Unfortunately, lying still in bed wasn't helping me as much as I thought it would. Falzone are ruthless in upholding their rules. That much I knew. Years ago, everyone in town heard rumors of the blood purge that happened, including myself. Dante's part of the Mafia. He was the one who held together this powerful criminal organization. And I knew many would die in the purge tonight. I don't want to accept that lives could be lost so easily. Yet I understood it was something that needed to be done. I lay consumed in those thoughts as the night went on. I mean, again, understandable that you're yeah, you've got to do this, but it's tragic. And what is it? I've received reports from all of our teams. It's done. I see. And the damage? A few hurt, but nothing critical. And the other side didn't put much of a fight. I thought we made our intentions clear with that body, but it looks like they didn't heed our warning. It seems those planning to betray us haven't learned much from last time. It concerns me they didn't put up much of a fight. You know what I mean? Maybe because they weren't expecting it, but... The incident that Nicola referred to was known as the Blood Purge that took place years ago. Berlin was witness to a series of unexpected shootings in different parts of town. Rumors spread of the young boss who took over the Falzone family being behind the chaos. It was said that Dante Falzone was murdering all those in the family who opposed him. The townspeople accepted that as fact. However, there was more to the story. Those who opposed me made attempts on my life in broad daylight, wherever they could find me. And that was the beginning of the chaos. Those shootings were twisted into rumors that served to undermine my character. The Falzone family's young boss is merciless. He'll not forgive those who defy him. He kills without hesitation, even at the expense of the townspeople's lives. I know those are in quotes, so it's different people saying it, but I feel like Dante is reminiscing the quotes. The rumors spread like wildfire. I had gone to great lengths to ensure that civilians were not caught in the line of fire. But the aggressions continued escalating until rampant gunfire became a daily occurrence. Which is why I decided to purge the family of bad blood by whatever means necessary. Thinking I was simply a pampered brat, they thought nothing of my invitation to a banquet. I had each and every one of them killed. Among the traitors were my distant relatives, Raoul's parents. I have no intention of justifying the past. The Mafia's hands are covered in blood. The fact of the matter is, I am a murderer. No, but you're like such a sweet little soft one that there's just something about it that's like forgivable. Like on one hand, you have like Yang and like Nicola who were like absolutely gonna stab someone, and you're like, yep, no, I expect it because you're shady bitches. You know what I mean? And like there's just something about them. They've got that cool, collected like shadiness about them where you're like, yeah, no, uh-huh. And then you've got Gil who's like, I murder people, but like I'm suave. Like he's just suave and and then you've got Dante who like looks tough but is so fucking soft. And like I'm just saying, Yang would just take you for himself. But like Nicola and Gil would come in and like charm you. They got their James Bond appeal where you're like, I know you're a murderer, but you're charming. Like you're suave. You know how to talk to ladies. You know what I mean? And then like Yang would just hit you on the head with a club and drag you back to his cave because like whatever. He's not gonna charm you. He's just gonna be like, I own you now, and you're like, I mean, okay. It's his own version of charm, but it's aggressive. And then you have Dante, who is just like, his charm is the fact that, like, oh, I will kill these motherfuckers who betray me, but, like, that girl looked at me and I don't know what to do. It's just kind of adorable. You really just think, like, Nicola and Gil, like, the more suave kind of guys, or, like, Yang, it was basically just like, no, I control everything, including you. That's what you're expecting, not like the mafia boss who's like, oh, he will get it done. He will fucking murder goddamn traitors. And then blush profusely because I smiled at him. I don't know. I think that's why I love him so much. It's just so weird. So cute. Anyway. And this was the second time I ordered a purge, so I assumed they would have prepared themselves for the possibility. I didn't want to hit them individually, as it would be risky and hamper our progress, which is why I had my targets guided together in one place at around the same time. And this ended well thanks to you and, well, I suppose I should thank Jeremy too. Ah, yes. His place is in a bit of a mess right now. I'll make sure he's compensated. And Jeremy offered his home for our strike and invited our targets there for a gathering. I spoke with Nicola about our next steps for tomorrow, then ended the call. I wonder, though, because remember we said Jeremy kind of looked at us and he looked odd. And then now he's the one that helped us, so I'm like, do we trust him? I don't know. I hesitated a bit before stepping out into the corridor. I mean, what are we in chapter 3? Probably getting close to chapter 4. Are there 4 or 6 chapters? Chapter 4. No, there's 6. Okay, I just saw chapter 5, so. Whoops. I don't know where we are now. I'm lost in my guide. That's fine. I just kind of scrolled fast enough. I don't want to see choices or anything. I just want to be like, okay, there's 6. So we're only like halfway through. So like, very suspicious. But just because Raoul's might not be a problem, we still have Yuan to deal with because I can't imagine. And then there's something going on with Gil. And then there's still Henry. There's just so many moving pieces here. It was already midnight, and she must be sleeping by now. And still, I found myself walking to Space's room, quietly taking hold of the doorknob. Just come in. The door wasn't locked. I carefully approached the bed so as not to wake her, and then we scream and ninja kick him in the nuts. As I had expected, she was already asleep. I felt my shoulders relax at the sight of her peaceful face. And careful not to breathe too loudly, I drew closer and gently brushed my fingers against her hair. Aww. I lay consumed in those thoughts as the night went on. The night wore on, I still couldn't sleep. I tried to lie perfectly still to trick myself into thinking I was already asleep, but to no avail. As my mind flitted from one thought to another, I considered getting a glass of warm milk when the door opened and Dante came into the room. It was dark and he looked tired. He didn't seem to notice that I was awake. I like the fact that he's like, I'm staring at her face, and it's like, my eyes are open! I missed the timing to greet him and for some reason decided to close my eyes. Ah, okay. I could sense that Dante was moving slowly so that he wouldn't make a sound. He was stroking my hair. What should I do? Pretend to wake up. Keep pretending. Wake up. I would say wake up. I'm going with wake up. Like, although keep pretending is nice. Like, then he'll just pat my head and stuff, but I think we should wake up. Look at him smiling behind the thing. Okay, I got lost in the guide, so, oh, okay. This is where we do a save file, too. Interesting. But we also wake up, so I was right. Wake up. Dante? I slowly opened my eyes and called his name. You were awake. Done with work? Yes. Good. I slowly reached out toward Dante's sleeve and gave it a good tug. What are... You're done with work, right? After a bewildered silence, Dante hesitantly let me pull him toward me as I wished. I like him, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, trying to get you into this damn bed, bitch. Like, any other man, we're like, we wouldn't even have, he would have already just been in bed. Just to curl up, whatever. But Dante, we're like, get in here. And he's like, what are you doing? Do we get a CG? Like this? Stop it! Look at his sweet little blushy face. It's so innocent and adorable, and I can't handle it. Stop it. Oh my god, wait, is he gonna be curled up holding us like he was with the cat when he was like baby Dante? Are we the cat now? Oh my god. I could feel his heartbeat. Oh my god, it is. We're like curled up with him like the cat. I snuggled my head against Dante's chest so that he wouldn't leave. And the nice part is they buried her face so we don't have to have the awkward eye, which you know would have happened. It would have been like, the CG is so... Oh, there's that fucking eye. Something weird going on. You know what I mean? Because there's always... Like, it always just comes out of nowhere. Awkward eyes. And it would have been here. Sorry. I was actually awake the whole time. I love this. I love this so much. His arm underneath us is just totally straight, and it looks so awkward. You almost can't tell, but you can see the cuff, and it just looks so bizarre. But his face. Oh, look at his sweet little blushing face. It's adorable. I see. I'm sorry to have come in without knocking. I really wanted to see your face tonight. I felt the fabric of his shirt rub against my cheek as I nodded in response to his excuse. If only I could take on the pain and suffering he felt with a simple touch. Aren't you tired from working so late? You really should have a rest. If I let you leave now, I bet you'll only go back to the office to work again. Why don't you sleep here for the night? Space. Dante, if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Hear a smile in his response. Look at his sweet little face. I can't handle it. You don't realize it, do you? You've been helping me in so many ways for a while now. Really? Yes. Your presence here is everything to me. Stop it. I'm gonna die. I felt the low hum of his voice in his chest. When I'm troubled or in pain, and talking to you helps me keep my head up. Dante embraced me tightly and then spoke the words he'd been keeping hidden deep inside. I need you, Space. Stop it. Birds. No, you stop it. You ruined the mood. Not just as a man, but as the boss of the Falzone family. I need you. You're truly irreplaceable to me. I'm gonna die. He laid a reverent kiss upon my forehead. I love the forehead kiss. If you'll allow me to be with you tonight, I want nothing more than to stay. I gave a nod at his whisper in my ear. Stay with me, Dante. I want us to be together. This better not be... Okay, I was like, this better not be 3 fucking meanwhile stories. Because, I'm just saying, this is like the end here. We're at the end of this part, but like... It's alright, we're not overtime.
After locking the doors to the church, I walked back across the monastery lawn. Although it was late at night, I could see someone walking toward the cemetery. Is that... No, it can't be. With a feeling of foreboding in my heart, I quietly followed the figure.
If they hurt Sister Sophia, I'm out. Alright, look, we already had Oliver die. I'm pretty sure Leo died in one, but like, listen, Orlok already punched this nun in the first game. We're not doing any more harm to this woman. Leave my mother alone.
Tell me, Chloe, is this what you truly desire? I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Aww.
His voice was too quiet to be heard over the chirping of crickets. And nevertheless I knew whose grave he was visiting. I believed I knew who he was as well.
Interesting. Stay with me, Dante. I want us to be together. I'm sorry, I gave my brother kids because he's like biting my face. Like little nibblies, you know what I mean? But it's just funny. As I felt the warmth of his embrace envelop me, my eyes naturally closed on their own. It was hard to imagine how much I had struggled earlier. I quickly fell into a deep and comforting slumber in Dante's arms. I love him. All right, I know we're gonna go over time, but I need to read the Dante segment before we move on because it's related. So we'll go over. All I want is for her to live a normal life. I want her to continue seeing murder as something evil, but for her heart to remain pure. No matter what, I was a criminal through and through. I understood that fact well enough. Even so, though her own values oppose the Mafia's, she still stays by my side. She was my healing salvation. Space. It's because of you that I haven't lost my way completely. Her kindness and warmth soothed my soul, and giving me the strength to carry my sins for another day. I will continue to commit crimes in order to protect you and those precious to me. I have no regrets, and this is my life. My life as boss of the Falzone family. But it's still so sweet, though. You're like, I know you're gonna kill people, but it's still adorable. Look at that, and we got into chapter 4, bitches. Perfect. I'm assuming that says dialogue in Italian. I'm just guessing, man. Anyway, or Latin? I don't really know. I don't know whatever language it is because, like, I know Gil's was always supposed to be English, and I thought Yang's was supposed to be in, like, Chinese, obviously, but I don't think it was. They might have translated it, you know what I mean? And then Henry's is in French. But then it's kind of like with Nicola and Dante, one of them was obviously would be Italian and the other one would be something else. Because I thought that's the way it was in the first game. Like all the titles were a different language depending on the love interest. Orlok's would have been Latin, would make sense to be Latin because like church shit would have been more Latin. You know what I mean? That makes sense. I forgot about Orlok. So I don't really know. Was someone's in German? You know what I mean? This seems more like Italian to me, I'm guessing, but I don't really know. But anyway, doesn't matter. So I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.